Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Friday, July 5th, and this is Blinkers Off. What is up, dude? Happy 4th of July. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good. We actually are 1 minute away from the racing festival from Iowa getting going, the Iowa Festival of Racing, I should say. So it's we're good timing here. We've got some Iowa racing happening there at Prairie Meadows, and then we've got this show to do as well. So God, I feel like we have so many things going on tomorrow. It's at like the odd tracks, right? Indiana and Iowa with huge racing.
I know.
And then Belmont with we'll call it racing. I don't know if it's huge or not.
Yeah, well, it's we got a lot to talk about. Yeah, it's the Iowa. Honestly, it's like how is it we have the Belmont Derby and the Belmont Oaks, and I'm more excited to watch the Iowa Derby and the Indiana Derby and the Cornhusker, really. But really, I'm more excited for those three races we're going to talk about tonight than I am. I mean, two of their biggest turf races for 3-year-olds of the year for NYRA.
Weak card at NYRA. There's no way around it. Anytime you get, the Belmont Derby has 5 in it. I think the Dwyer has 4 in it. It's just, it's not good. Don't know why that is. I mean, we'll get into that here in a little bit, but it's not good there. And then you kind of do the flip side of it is, especially Indiana. You look at what they did at Horseshoe Indianapolis for tomorrow, and you're like, well, that's the best card tomorrow. There's just no debating it. And honestly, Prairie Meadows card tomorrow, not bad either. Tonight's not all that bad either. So there's good betting at Iowa and then at Indiana. And then look, I think Belmont to Big A, you can play it, but it's not that great of a card. And usually this is a pretty darn good one up there. So I don't know what happened. It fell apart big time though, and really disappointing.
Well, I guess that gives us a good little segue because obviously it didn't come at a great week for NYRA, although they did it themselves. So, but didn't come at a great week to have these fields whenever NYRA content is now no longer available with TVG and FanDuel wagering platforms. They need to better the game. They said, they need to keep the money, in-house and in New York. And if you're doing that and you don't have a basically good enough deal with TVG FanDuel, we're just going to not allow it. So killing all the customers that aren't basically betting with NYRA or I guess Twin Spires, but still TVG FanDuel, the it's like, like what it's like, he's like, I can't believe this sport doesn't grow. I don't know. I just and then to be fair, not shocked why the sport doesn't grow anymore. But if you have that mindset, you see something like this, and it's like, wow. I mean, it just never ceases to amaze me how dumb we are in this sport.
Yeah, like I said, I've said it for a long time. This sport, it would be like the NFL, each division of the NFL working in different ways and working just for their interests only. And and if you imagine what the NFL would look like if it was like that, or you could any sport, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, if all of them are each division are working in separate directions, that's what's going to happen. And that's what racing is, and that's what is going on. And what are you going to do? Right. I mean, that NYRA, basically, at the end of the day, most people kind of have to bow down to FanDuel a little bit because that's where you can see the races on a television outlet. Right. But when NYRA got their deal with Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2, that's not the case. And quickly they just said, well, we don't need you. You need us. So good luck. And I should back up and say I'm assuming, I don't know any of this for sure, but I'm assuming that was kind of the discussions, and here we are.
Well, it's just the statement by NYRA officials is funny. It's about basically how we basically need we must prioritize the overall health of the sport and broader industry here in New York. And we'll continue negotiations to seek an equitable resolution so that racing is widely available nationally. And then in the same breath, we've got 4 horse fields at Belmont. So it's just I mean, I guess. Do you think they're going to feel it? Like, are they going to feel any of this? You think? Does it matter really? Is it more of just a pisses you off? Do you think they're going to be like, well, I mean, the real bettors, if they want to bet or they want to watch, they still figure out a way. Does it really impact anything other than hinder the growth?
Yeah, I mean, not it's going to impact the customer, and that's it. Who the bettor always gets screwed. I honestly, at the end of the day, probably not. If a bettor wants to play an NYRA, they're going to figure out a way to do it, but it might be at their inconvenience. So that's kind of the situation there. So I don't know. The answer to the question is I don't know. I probably not. I would say they've kind of made a calculated decision here, and again, you just kind of assume that they probably didn't get the deal they wanted, and they just said, "Well, the hell with you. Why do we need our races on that platform when you don't tell? We have our own network basically. That's a much larger network than FanDuel as far as a television, television eyes." And they're just like, "Hey, we're on Fox, and see ya. No big deal. I mean, you need us, we don't need you," type of thing.
Chris Hartman rattles off the first win there with Necker Island over who's that? Jackson Traveler.
Yeah, Jackson Traveler in second there. I did not see who was at third. I believe that was Confidence Game.
Confidence game.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, 8-1 on your first race there, at least first race of the festival. But yeah, and it just like goes to show you how. I mean, again, you don't need a reminder really at this stage, but like just how divided it all is, that it's just like you said, we're trying to be, and I learned this a long time ago, and you did as well. And I think the longer you're in the game, you learn it, where it's like, we want to compare ourselves to the big sports. We are the big sport, we are just like you guys, like, listen, why can't people like this, like they like football or NBA or whatever? It's like, well, stop looking at us like that, because we aren't, because we don't operate like one. We don't act like one. So it's like you can't really be surprised by moves like these, because it's par for the course. Whenever you don't have anybody working together, this is what happens.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's just it is what it is. I mean, when you're in a niche, and this is a niche for sure, horse racing, definitely a niche, whether you want to call it sport or betting operation, it's somewhere in between that. Probably it's a little bit of both. Probably it's more betting than sport, but there is some sport to it, right? But when you're in a niche, it really helps if you got all the pieces kind of working together to help grow and help, facilitate the best customer service for the customers they have. And I think even us, which is a small part of the niche, right? When you look at it, when you lose a customer, they're hard to replace in a niche market. You really need to hold on to those people that like horse racing. And if it's any deterrent whatsoever, they may not, they may just say the hell with it, and they may not come back. And so if somebody is an avid TVG player and they look at tomorrow's card at Belmont, the Big A, let's say they play Thursday at Saratoga, and they open that app and they don't see it, they might just say, well, you know what? Whatever. Like, I didn't really like this all that much anyway, and they're gone. And guys, like, getting new people into racing is tough. So, in a niche market, again, you got to hold those customers as best you can. And this is one of many things where they just don't do that. And again, at the end of the day, I learned a long time ago, the people that always get screwed the hardest in horse racing are the bettors. And guess what? Without the bettors, there isn't even a game. So it's really messed up that the bettors always seem to get the short end of the stick here. And I can speak for all of us, I think, on the stream. Not many people can agree on anything these days, but I think everybody would agree with what I just said. In horse racing, the bettors take the brunt of the punishment 99.9% of the time.
Yeah. And dude, it's what's sad is that I think it's easier to watch races now than it was, when we got into it.
Yeah.
That's the reality. Like, I remember whenever we were trying to, like, you'd like try, of course, especially where, being in Missouri, you try to watch and you're like trying to get an account somewhere. And, at that time it's like HGTV and HGTV. No, what was it? Was that it?
HRTV.
HRTV, yeah, that's almost. But where you're like, oh, you can only watch it for 30 minutes, and then you gotta log in, and we couldn't do it because we were in Missouri. Point of it is, it's easier now. But we were like dedicated. Like we like if we were like mild fans, you're like, nah, fuck it. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna deal with it. And it's the same thing. Like you don't want to get to that point where it's like you have to have those stars have to align for you to want to make a bet.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where it seems like it's kind of going there. Yeah, thanks for the save the clock. Appreciate that. Make sure you hit those thumbs up, hit the likes. And Christopher, appreciate it. Got a haircut today. Appreciate that. And by the way, congratulations on kid number 2 to fall asleep in his bed. Do you believe in miracles? That's great. It's 50-50 for me every night for that. So do you get your kids, your cat and your dog to go to bed in their own beds?
Yep, no problems there. They know what to do when it's bedtime. They one goes to sleep and one bothers her mom, so that's perfect.
What do you do?
I just sleep and let whatever unfold. So it's all good.
Let her deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. You got any more to add to this? Or you want to get into the racing?
Well, I think just to wrap it up. It's just I'm trying to. How far do I want to go here? I just think at the end of the day, there are about 5 or 6 main entities in horse racing that have all the power. And those 5 or 6 entities, for the most part, think they are the lord of the game, right? And they think they're kind of untouchable and they never want to work with anybody. And at random times that does change. And usually it changes when I see younger people start to get higher up roles. And you talk to somebody and it's like, oh shit, like this guy has a vision for you and you to work together to make everything better. And when that happens, you do see a little bit of synergy and a little bit of improvement. But we have just got way too many people that think their thing that they operate is the backbone of the industry, when in all reality, the bettors are the backbone of the industry. And if you continue to not cater towards them, you will slowly die out the game.
Yeah.
And so that I'll leave it at that. You might think that's dramatic. It's not. That's the reality. And you've got to be able to improve the betting experience and improve the experience of your players, or over time you're going to lose them. And you're a niche market, and you cannot replace. If you start losing a lot, you can't replace them fast enough. It's just how it is. That's business 101. That's not me saying anything other than that's what's going to happen.
And I've seen more people in the last 5 years that are like legit bettors, like, and again, you're never going to replace the computer wagering and stuff like that. But the people that are like way into it, that are like, you know what, I just don't bet as much anymore, just got tired of it or whatever. And it's like, that's pretty alarming, because have you ever really said, unless you actually have a problem, like, a gambling problem, but have you ever heard anyone be like, I don't really bet on the sports anymore? It's like, no, I mean, you do it because you do it, it's like, it's there and you bet it if you want to, it's whatever. Like, if you're into horse racing and it's like, and you decide to stop betting, to me, that's alarming.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, when you wake up tomorrow and you open your FanDuel app, if you have a FanDuel app for sports, the MLB is going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Is it ever not going to? I mean, maybe one day, but
not
you open up, you don't hear of a sports app taken out of, or a sports league taking betting off of a app.
Yeah.
Because why would you do that?
Yeah.
How does it make any sense to do that? So again,
well, dude, and and this is to Mark's point, and he says kind of like the $2 win place exacta bettors are getting the one screw because they go and they don't wager much. And listen, to that kind of point, you see it, I see it a lot during, say, Triple Crown season, especially Derby, where you get your friends or whatever, and they're like, hey, how do I bet? like they'll literally be like, I want to bet, I hear you talking about this horse or whatever. Like, how do I bet? I want to get some action on this. And it's like, you got to ask somebody, you got to have someone else go do it for you. Or at the end of the day, you might just be like, you know what? Never mind. I just won't do it. It's like, what bet? I mean, the Derby is fantastic. It's an amazing race. It really is. It's a spectacle in itself. We have that opportunity to capture all these people that want to start betting, and then they get into it, and it's like, no, we just make it as hard as we can,
Mm-hmm.
And not to I mean, listen, they go all and on, like different states, can't bet, whatever. I mean, the list goes on, but it just seems like it's just becoming more and more hard to actually make a bet in this game, unless you're at the track or you live in a state where you can do it. And,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It sucks.
Well, at the end of the day, go to Twin Spires, put in that promo code, and get signed up, and you can bet. You can help out the racing dudes, and you can bet NYRA on Twin Spires.
They'll take your bet.
Yep, they sure will. So go do that, and stay away from FanDuel, I guess, is the moral of the story, and more Twin Spires for everybody.
Well, hey, you know what? On that note, let's get into some racing. Let's go get our Twin Spires account. Let's put in dudes as a promo code. You get your bonus there, and you're going to bet these races we're about to talk about, because today's show, we're going to preview and get picks for tomorrow's. That's right, tomorrow's featured stakes races at Belmont, the Big A, Horseshoe Indianapolis, and Prairie Meadows. Let's go. Almost called it Indiana Downs.
Had been Indiana Downs. That's 3 names ago. It was Indiana Downs. It's pretty crazy. How many? We haven't been in it all that long, but that is a track that's changed names a ton.
Well, I'm sure it get as someone like John or something. It's like you get into the whatever. If that's a track or the name of the track when you run into it or whatever, it just becomes that track, right? No matter what.
Yep.
I'm sure it's kind of like, old people, so, they probably still call them the Redskins. It's like, that's just, they're never going to not be the Redskins, because it's like, they're not going to change it.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that, by the way?
I think you can say it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't name the team that,
No, that's not your fault.
Blame someone else for that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Yeah, we're going to kick things off here at Belmont the Big A, then Horseshoe, and then Prairie. So give us an update as we go throughout the night if a race happens, or want to mention something at Prairie, so people can watch.
Okay.
You still got fireworks going off for everyone around there? No, man, it's still going off. Last night, so I live in a neighborhood that it was my first year in this neighborhood for 4th of July, and I'd kind of been warned, like, hey, there's a lot of fireworks going off around here, and my gosh, it was like before it started raining, because it started raining like 9 something here, but before it started raining, it was like I've never been in a war zone, thank goodness, but it had to be somewhat similar.
Yeah.
I mean, just everywhere you looked, all around you, and smoke the whole sky is full of smoke, and you just hear the cracks and pops and just all the going firework explosions. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, our state is crazy when it comes to it. I mean, it's to the point we don't have to buy anything anymore. We just watch everybody else.
Dude. By the way, you gotta listen, guys. This is I've only had kids for this was Cohen's, I guess, 7th, 4th of July, and obviously we didn't buy when he's really little, so maybe say 5 solid years of this age of going to fireworks stand. This is my first time and maybe my first time in my whole life, or at least that I can remember, that I did not visit a fireworks stand this year.
Yeah, that's crazy. Good for you.
Susu and Papa did it once, so that covered me for a little bit. And they got this little stuff, but then it's like, we just watched everyone else shoot the stuff, and they didn't care. So
no,
it works out. So I was like, I saved probably $200 this year.
We walked outside, and the neighbor, like 2 doors down, had like 3-4 tables full. I was like, yeah, we're good. We won't have to go anywhere. Right here will be fine. And
what amazes me is that we have a state of, it's not just our state, it's probably the country really, where it's like food prices are out of the, just skyrocketing, and mortgages are higher than they've ever been, and or interest rates, whatever. It's like, we still buy those fireworks. We still buying them. You know what? We still buying them. We still shooting them.
Yep. Blow up $1,000. Just blow it up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Can't eat this week, but I got $1,000 for fireworks.
Right.
You're gonna sit there and tell me you own a fireworks stand. You don't have any. That's solid. What do you think about? I'll give you 3 options. What do you think about most when it comes to as far as movies go? These 3 options: Sandlot, when it comes to 4th of July, Sandlot, that scene of Joe Dirt, or Independence Day. Those are your 3 movie options, because those are like 3 that always come to mind for 4th of July.
Sandlot's my favorite of those 3.
Yeah, that's
So
one of the most iconic scenes, right?
I would go. Yeah, I would go Sandlot, Independence Day, Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Sandlot. Such a good movie.
We watch it year round, obviously, but we have already watched it. We had like a movie night outside and watched it.
Great movie.
It's like perfect, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
great movie.
All right, guys, let's head to Belmont at the Big A Saturday for race number 6. Yeah, we kind of alluded to this in the opening. The card's not great. Small fields. So we're only going to talk about the Belmont Derby and the Belmont Oaks. This is race 6, the Belmont Derby Invitational Stakes, grade 1. We're 750K going 1 3/16 miles on the outer turf. All right, we got this is for 3-year-olds. And, again, only a field of 5. But you got 6 to 5 on Endlessly, the horse that, was started off on the turf and then went to synthetic, of course, and then got to the Derby and didn't really disappoint. But now off of that, back to the surface at 6 to 5. Legend of Time for Appleby, who had a nice run last time out over here at 5 to 2. Who are you going with? I mean, to me, it's between those 2, because what's interesting about this race is a lot of these horses, certainly the couple of the not Endlessly, but a few of these other ones have matched up already, right? So we kind of know, it kind of feels like it's Legend of Time versus Endlessly.
Yeah, I don't think it's that simple. Even though I did pick one of those 2, anytime you go this distance on the turf with 5 horses, that pace scenario is always strange. I would be shocked if this isn't a really oddly run race where a horse might get loose on the lead and just they can't ever catch it. I think that's very possible as well. And then I also think it's a situation where they all might just bunch right up, and it's a sprint for home, and maybe one of the horse that's quote unquote 5th, but only a couple links behind, goes from last to first. So I think because of the weirdness of a 5-horse turf race going this distance, it kind of makes it just wide open. I went with Endlessly on top. I remember watching the American at Churchill Downs and thinking, boy, if Endlessly would have been in that race, he would have won it. And I mean, the winner of the Americans here and the 4-horse at Tricari, and then Legend of Time was in that race. And if you remember, Legend of Time sweat pretty bad in that race, came back to run a lot better last time out at the Pennine Ridge. But look, still wasn't great. And I think Endlessly's best race gets it done. But again, that's me picking a horse that is probably going to be 5th out of 5. And it's NYRA on top of everything else. I mean, would you really be shocked if the 2 goes gate to wire, or the 4? I mean, I wouldn't. So I think I hate this race because in multis, you just feel like you just can't go all that deep in this race, but you could get knocked off pretty easy because the pace situation is just a total guess in the spot.
Wasn't it? Yeah, I think Tricari was you remember that day that when he won, that was also the same owners, right?
Yep.
As Endlessly. So they didn't run the horse in the race. They still won the race with a long horse. Whoa, that was weird.
You just left.
That was weird. I didn't know what happened. That horse paid a ton. It was like 47 to 1 or something. Yeah. So to me, it is that simple. I mean, to be fair, it's a 5 or 8 horse field thing. Weird things can happen, but from a talent and kind of what should quote unquote happen, to me, it's between the 5 and the 1. I think it's interesting that Buick is now making the trip. Obviously, it's a $750,000 race. So that's a grade 1, so that's a huge aspect of it as well. But Buick gets back aboard the regular rider for Legend of Time in the first 5 career starts, and then of course came over here into Torrey, and then Rosario got the mounts. But now Buick back aboard, and honestly, I thought, I'm kind of with you. I didn't necessarily think the Pennine Ridge was like epic. Horse kind of got bottled up in the stretch, finally got some room to run, and then came. But it wasn't like the horse just blew the doors off either. So the horse still needs to make and improve. But I really don't think there's, there's much to say that he won't. With Endlessly, his best race, I think it's gonna be either one really. I just sometimes with the horses that have come off that Kentucky Derby, like they came, they ran and then they kind of got there. Now it's like, okay, now we're restarting a little bit. That's always a little bit of a concern. But I do like the fact that he is back on the turf. I just kind of wonder, we haven't seen the horse on the turf since November, right? And so you just kind of wonder what that horse is going to be like, and if the horse might need a race or two to kind of get back into that turf form. But I really do think it's between the two, but I'm going to lean towards the 1, Legend of Time. I'm curious, do you think those odds are going to hold, or do you think like it's going to switch, or do you think Endlessly is going to get, because of the Derby, because of kind of that name that people would probably remember?
Yeah, I'd say Endlessly still going to be the favorite. It may not be quite as dramatic as you see on the board, because Appleby Buick, that thing's going to get bet. There's no doubt. And look, I mean, Legend of Time, I certainly think, his race in the American, you can just draw a line through it. He looked awful, but as far as physically, he looked awful, is what I'm saying, with all the sweating. But I think he'll take a lot of money because of the connections, because of the win over the track last time as well. And that's a big time thing, right? And look, I think these two are going to be the ones that take all the money, though. I mean, you look at the other 3 horses, I think you can make a case for all of them, but you've got recent losses from a horse, right there, and then you got a horse in Tricari that lost last time out at Penn National. I know it was the Penn Mile, but still,
Yeah,
he lost. So
as a favorite,
I think bettors are going to gravitate pretty hard towards the 1 and the 5.
Yeah, honestly, the horse that could win this thing, I think that's not, is not getting much love is the 3. Just maybe a little bit better trip that day, but is going to be kind of the forgotten horse, because I think Chad will get a little bit of play, considering who he is and obviously how well he does in this race. But then I think Royal Majesty is a horse for Bill Mott, a horse that has gone off the favorite Pine Ridge, finished 3rd behind these horses. Maybe the little longer distance could help the horse as well. So yeah, to that point, I think there are options here. And that you're right. It's a 5-horse field. You really don't want to go all, right? But like, it's one of those races that could burn you too, because if you only go, say you single Endlessly, well, that's dicey. And say you go 5 deep, well, Endlessly might win. So yeah, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Like I said, both the horses that you've kind of said it's a 2-horse race, the 1 and the 5, gosh, they're going to have to come from out of it. And that does make you scared, because like I said, it is NYRA, and I could see a 25 and a 51 for the half, and a horse is out there by themselves. And then you're going to have to be elite to go get that horse out there, so that is the scary thing about it, and why, you're just like, maybe the 3 can do it. Yeah, maybe so, maybe the 2 and maybe the 4 as well. I mean,
yeah,
I hate short turf fields. I just hate them. And I guarantee you, we're going to, no matter who wins the race, after it's over, we're going to go, boy, that was an odd race. That was weird. I guarantee you.
Yeah, it's not going to be visually somewhat like, oh wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, well, even if Endlessly wins. All right, so you got Endlessly the 5. I'm going 1, Legend of Time. Let's go a few races later. There are several other ones, obviously, but the one we're gonna go here is race number 9. This is the Fasick Tipton Belmont Oaks Invitational, grade 1, where it's $500,000. 1 3/16 miles for the 3-year-old fillies this time, with a field of 9 lining up here. And Applebee's got another runner at 9-2. Cinderella's Dream. Buick aboard here as well. 2-1 on She Feels Pretty for JV and Sherry DeVoe. Those another one of those cases, Halterman. It is very similar, right? Where you've got those. It kind of feels like it's the Appleby versus the quote unquote kind of best one we have to offer here, at least in this race, each race. But do you think it's one of these two this time, or could you see another outcome that could be unpredictable?
I'm a huge fan of She Feels Pretty. I loved her in the Natalma last year. Loved her in the Breeders' Cup juvenile filly and mare Phillies turf, I should say, and got beat a half length, but still ran okay that day. It was the only loss. I thought she was fantastic at Pimlico last time out against a little bit weaker company. So I really like the 7. I'm going to go number 7. She Feels Pretty. I do kind of think the 2 and the 8 are going to be tough in this spot. I kind of prefer the 2 over the 8, believe it or not, a little bit. I think 7-2 was where I was leaning, but I really have liked She Feels Pretty for a while, and she really hasn't given me a lot of reason to back off of her. I think she's ready for this spot. I think the stretch out and distance is going to be just fine for this horse. So give me the 7. She Feels Pretty.
Yeah, that's. I saw a comment a little bit ago saying that the Appleby is not, or the Buick came in to ride this one, not the other one for Appleby, and I might put this horse third. That's kind of where I'm at with it too. I got the 7. She Feels Pretty on. I just think she is. That last race was powerful, and her only loss came in the Breeders' Cup, right? And it's hard to justify. And poor Fortuna. So it's like, I mean, this is a horse that's kind of just ran every time, really. Even in the Breeders' Cup, she ran well. Has only ran once since that day. So you could imagine that when that was in May, at the hilltop there at Pimlico. So you got to think this horse is going to be a little bit tighter here. And I'm with you. I don't think the distance is going to be concerned. Speaking of distance, I think the 8. I mean, who knows? We don't really know. This horse has not gone longer than a mile. Which is sometimes interesting, right? Because you typically, for these Appleby horses, they'll go longer, at least try a little longer at some points. So the fact that he's trying to hear kind of makes me wonder, like, are we just grasping, or is this the idea? And I kind of like the 2 a little bit, as I almost went there. The 4, I mean, honestly, it's one of those. I personally think this is one that you might get aggressive and go very thin, because to me, it's like if you start opening up the door of like, well, if the 7 can't win, well, gosh, I think there's a handful of them that could, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, the 8 and 2 are very illogical horses. I think the 6 is, the other
Yep.
Chad Brown.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
I think the 6 is extremely logical. I mean, if you're going to go deep, those are the horses you're going to start to put on the ticket. I even thought the 3 was minorly interesting as well. So I do think, if the 7 isn't quite as good as what we think, then it does become pretty wide open. And again, I didn't view the Appleby horse as like a world beater, which certainly not going to be shocked if that horse wins. So after the 7, I do think it becomes pretty crazy, and it could be anybody.
Yeah, and you know what? The 1 got my attention a little bit. This is a horse that, since switching over to the turf, Pinup Betty at 10-1 for Makers. Since switching up, getting over to the turf here 3 starts ago, the horse has looked really good. It's definitely been the surface of choice. The regret last time out was very, very nice. The last 2 have actually been really, really nice. This would be a big step up, no doubt, but a big price. I wouldn't be against playing her anywhere in that 10-1 range.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so you and I are both agreeing here on the 7. She Feels Pretty. But did you give any thought about the 4? Is this kind of maybe a horse that just continues to be like the? Although I picked her on the right day, which she won at a nice price there at almost 7-1. But she kind of feels like a horse that's just, when she gets to this level, it's a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's a nice horse. I really do, and I think it's just like you said. It's one of those situations where it's just a little too much. She just didn't quite run all that well 2 races back. I thought the race last time out was better. Maybe now stretching back out or not back out, but back further, I should say, in distance to 1 3/16. Maybe that makes the difference in this race, right? Maybe that's kind of the thing that can make her a little bit of the equalizer. we've seen her run pretty darn well in the past. So I'm mildly interested in her. I could see it for sure.
All right, Lou thinks the 7 wins easily. I kind of agree with that a little bit. All right, let's go. Let's go to Horseshoe Indianapolis for race number 12. That is the Indiana Derby. It's a grade 3 with 300K going a mile. And 1/16, of course, for the 3-year-olds. Field of 8 lines up here. 2-1 on Stronghold. This is the weekend halterman of the horses, the would-be horses of the Kentucky Derby that are coming back and finding their right spots. Is Stronghold's right spot here at 2-1. You've got a few other ones, though. They're going to try to make things interesting, including the 8 Dragoon Guard for Brad Cox. You know, Brad likes to win these kind of races, these kind of lower level derbies, we'll call them. So what do you think? Do you think Stronghold has got that class relief? Another one of those cases that didn't necessarily run terrible, but maybe this is the class relief needed, or are you going to go elsewhere?
Yeah, I got to go against him here on top. I'm afraid he's going to be a pretty short price. I'm still not completely sold that Stronghold is. Well, I take that back. I'm sold he's a pretty good horse, but I don't know to what level, honestly. I think when you look at him, if he wins this race, it certainly would not be surprising. But, he beat horses in the Sutherland Derby. Okay, that's great. Standing the Derby, he beat Imagination. I mean, okay. And then the Kentucky Derby, he ran okay. He got 7th, he kind of a wide trip and, had all kinds of, excuses, we'll call him. One bad race, but how good is he? Not quite sure. I'm going to go with the up and comer. I went number 8 Dragoon Guard on top in this one. I was really impressed with the last 2 races. I thought they were both very, very solid. I think the horse stretching out down to mile 16th will be fine. I think the longer, the better possibly for him. Man, he's just a really nice looking horse. Long strides for sure on Dragoon Guard. I mean, he's kind of got that arrogant stride to him just a bit. Obviously not as good as arrogant, but he has that that his sire had. But for me, it's more of I kind of wanted to go against Stronghold, and when this thing drew, and then when you dive into it, it's like, well, this is kind of the one that seems to make the most sense. So number 8 Dragoon Guard for me.
Yeah, that's where I went as well. Again, a horse that debuted, got 2nd to Odo the Conqueror, nice horse himself, and then has rattled off 2 really impressive wins since. Of course, that was off as after returning as a 3-year-old. Once at Keeneland, once at Churchill, and both have been good. Stretching out here for the first time, got longer than a mile, but the mile 16th, obviously being son of Arrogate, don't necessarily, and there's really nothing that would show that there would be an issue there. So I don't know about you, but when you see a horse like this enter this kind of race for Brad Cox, your eyes kind of light up, right? Because it just kind of feels like he knows how to pick these right spots, right? And we're going to talk about another one here in a second, where it's like, okay, like, whether it be a newcomer, like late to the game, or a horse that's okay, now let's back off. Let's figure out what this horse is. He kind of knows how to find these right places for these horses. And he says it all the time. It's like, well, we're trying to get the horse back on track. And this feels like the perfect spot. And I'm with you. I don't necessarily think Stronghold. I think he's a nice horse. But honestly, like, and maybe it's too bad. Like, maybe I hate Imagination so much that, but I'm like, oh, that horse sucks, right? And so look what he's done since. And so to me, I don't necessarily think this is anywhere near like a world beater type of horse that Dragoon Guard has to go up against. How about I'll mention one other one, because the horse is going to be a short price, or at least somewhat short. EJ won the Cup at 5-2 on the morning line. Has been a pretty solid horse. Of course, has not ran anything huge, but did finish 3rd to the aforementioned Stronghold of Imagination in that San Antonio Derby. Came back and won that Lone Star in the Texas Derby. So thoughts there?
Yeah, good spot for him. I think the spot makes a ton of sense to put him here in this race. I think you kind of saw he kind of went up against some decent horses or / good horses in maiden races, couldn't get it done. Kind of dropped him down, got a win, took him to Turf Paradise, not Turfway, Turf Paradise, got another win. Tried Sandy Derby, got 3rd, took him to Lone Star, he won. This is a decent spot. This is very logical. but it is a grade 3 race. Thus, you kind of get a little bit better quality horse here. And it kind of shows. I think I'm not going to be shocked if he wins, but I think if he wins, it kind of means Dragoon Guard just kind of didn't progress, and Stronghold maybe didn't run his best race, because we kind of saw Stronghold kind of disposed of EJ Won the Cup fairly easily in the Santa Anita Derby. So if I think Dragoon Guard is better than Stronghold, then it's hard for me to get to EJ Won the Cup, who showed that he was not as good as Stronghold.
And I think in the bigger picture here, you and I are both picking the 8 Dragoon Guard. And honestly, I think the bigger picture is, from a moving forward standpoint, there's maybe not a lot to come out of this, but if there is, it does feel like it's kind of the 8, right? Because it's like with Stronghold, it's kind of like, well, we know that maybe that Santa Anita wasn't great anyways as a prep season, and then obviously we didn't run, like we said, didn't run poorly, but didn't run awesome either in the Derby. And it's like, so what is he? So if he were to win here, it's like, well, okay, this is just, he's not that good, but he's better than the rest of these, So to me, if the 8 were to run well, like, we'll probably see him next at maybe Saratoga, somewhere down the line in bigger races. So
I do think it's a really, really good spot for the 2 Stronghold. I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, a ton. This is a spot where he can win, and his best race still could beat everybody here, because he might just be just a little bit better. So I think it's a really good spot for him.
Now, you talk about a horse, dude. He's ran 8. This will be a Stronghold's 8th start, and for a Diamano horse, right? He's ran at Ellis, Churchill, Del Mar, Los Al, Sunland, Santa Anita, Churchill, and now here.
Yep.
He's never ran at one track more than once.
Yeah.
How about that? In 8 starts, that's got to be almost impossible for a horse that's trained by Diamato, that typically, you would see him have a couple under his belt at Santa Anita or whatever, All of them have been different tracks. So it's like, it's tough to kind of get a feel for the horse. Has kind of answered all the calls. I mean, he's not been terrible in really any other races, but so I'm with you. This is the right spot for him. I just do think the 8 is a little bit better.
And by the way, he most likely will make it 9 for 9 on that stat in his next start. Because you got to think his next start, it might be West Virginia for the West Virginia Derby at Mountaineer. It might be, like I said, Jim Dandy's Travers at Saratoga.
Yeah,
it could be anywhere. Pennsylvania Derby at Parks. Like he could run that streak. Oklahoma Derby. I mean, 10-11. He could, for real.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's anyways. All right. Well, we're both on the 8 Dragoon Guard. All right, let's get to the real picks, because honestly, guys, this is Halterman. This is where he cut his teeth. This is track. We'll go to Prairie Meadows for race number 8. We got 2. We got the Cornhusker and the Iowa Derby, but we'll stick with the Iowa Derby for now. Race number 8, the Iowa Derby, worth $250K, going 1/16 miles for 3-year-olds. We've been to the Iowa Derby, but you're not going this year, are you?
No.
Field of 11 lines up here, 9-5 on Just a Touch. Another also ran in the Kentucky Derby. He was so much an also ran. He was the last also ran. He got in the last place in the Kentucky Derby for Brad Cox, 9-5. I mean, really, this to me, when I looked at this field for this race, Halterman, this was as simple. Wow, see, I feel like bombs are going off. This is as simple as, if he is anywhere near what he was pre-Derby, it's forget about it. This is not should not be close. But if he is anywhere around the Derby, well, then take your pick.
Right?
I mean, because I mean that very seriously. If he runs like he did in the Derby or anywhere in that ballpark, you can take a name out of a hat, and that's how you can handicap this race.
Yeah. For me, this was like, if Stronghold was in this race, 1,000,000,000% I would pick Stronghold, right? Like for me, I looked at Just a Touch the same way I looked at Stronghold. Okay, let's try to beat him. Who can we go with to beat him, right? The difference is, I looked at all the other 10 horses in this race and said, I have no interest in playing any of these, right? Where in Indiana, there was a horse I was able to play. Here, these horses are really bad outside of Just the Touch, and he may be bad too. I view him a lot like I view Stronghold. I'm not sure the talent level, right? I think they might be really good. They might just be okay for this level, right? So, but at the end of the day, this is a disaster of a field. I will say, Brad Cox was awful up here last year. Although, a couple of years ago, Knicks Go, that wasn't too bad for Brad, but he was awful last year. His first horse to run this year just happened, and she was 3-5, and she was beyond terrible. I mean, bad. So, maybe his shitty ones are here at Iowa. I don't know, but this horse, if he can run back to the bluegrass, this is an easy win for him. And so I'm going to go Just a Touch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll say it one more time. Like, I don't want to sit here and give listen. I looked at for a long time. I looked at the 3 Henro and Chris Hartman, but then I kept going. I was like, listen, like you're basically saying this horse isn't going to win. Basically, meaning the 9, and I don't have any reason to. I mean, if he runs anywhere near what he was before the Derby, then it's over. But if he doesn't, so I'm not going to sit here and I think, I see, McPeak at a price, right? Northern Flame. Sure. Why not? If you're not going to, have we seen that before? If you're not going to pick Just a Touch again, I mean it very seriously, just take an angle and go with it because I think it's that wide open of a race. But I mean, I couldn't, you can't okay, he ran an 89 buyer on debut. He ran a 90 buyer in the Gotham to deterministic. He ran a 96 in the Bluegrass to Sierra Leone. By the way, Sierra Leone, although hasn't won, has ran really, really well in all the races that he's ran since. So it's like that obviously is still a very good horse. And then the Kentucky Derby, he ran a 29 buyer. He finished 20th, beating 54 links. That wasn't him, right? I don't know where he is between the Bluegrass and that race, but he's certainly not the Derby. And so for that reason, I got to think he's better than that. So I'm going Just a Touch. I will single him because I'm just going to go, you know what? He's better than these. And if someone else wins, then I probably wouldn't have never had it anyways.
Yeah, no, I don't care about the Derby, but a lot of those also rans. It's whatever. With Stronghold, keep going back to him because to me, Stronghold Just a Touch. They're kind of similar ish, and it's like I don't care that he was 7th, beating 12 in the Derby. Like that data point just doesn't mean anything to me, and it doesn't for Just a Touch either. And you're right, and mentioned McPeak, and that listen, he's won races where it's like I don't know how he just did that type of stuff this year, but boy, oh boy, Northern Flame, has he been bad. Holy cow, has he been bad the last 3 races, so it is a weak group.
All right, let's I've seen some talk here about Iowa and maybe some good horses. This is not one of them, but we'll go to the next one here. By the way, we're both on number 9, Just a Touch. But we'll go to the Cornhusker here. Race number 9 is Prairie Meadows Cornhusker, grade 3, 300K, mile and 1/8 for 3-year-olds and up. And boy, it's just been one of those races over the years that we've seen not just, Breeders' Cup horses, Breeders' Cup Classic winners come out of this race, out of the Cornhusker. How about that, Halterman? 5-2 on Red Route 1. Bad segue.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure that's the Classic winner. But he's here. 3-1 on Hit Show. Trademark 6-1, 5-1 Heroic Moves. Speed Bias 15-1. Your boy Ain't Life Grand at 10-1. Man, I mean, I don't know that we're gonna have that not streak, but that kind of bias we've had in the past happen here. But it's a good betting race, I guess. So, what do you think of the Cornhusker?
Yeah, it's a tough race filled with average horses is how I would describe it, right? I mean, I wouldn't call any of these very good, but I don't call a lot of them just horrible either, right? This is a mess. This is so much so a mess that I picked Red Route 1 for the first time in over a year.
Oh boy. Oh guys.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying he's going to win the Classic is what you're saying.
I'm saying that he is probably better than all these horses, honestly. And you look at you look at the pace and it's like, well, he's going to get the pace. And if you're going to bet a closer, he's kind of the one. I don't really want to bet hit show in this spot. So I took Red Route 1. I mean, just read the names. He can beat these horses. He's beaten a lot of these horses in the past. And I think he's going to win. I really do.
Listen, I'll give you 5 wins easily. Trademark it for a second. Good luck, Lou. I can't. This is the kind of race. Kevin says there's a better chance I shit my pants live on air than Red Route 1. Well, you know what? He'll give you a run. There's that. And, I gave you shit there, so you can give me shit here right now when I give my pick, because I'm not going anywhere short in this. Like, I'm not going Red Route 1. I'm not going hit show. Not going any short prices. Not going trademark, certainly at 6-1. Yeah. I mean, listen, I talk about a closer. I'll give you another closer in the McPeak special here at number 2. Escapologist at 12-1. I'll go. Oh, that's where I'm going here. This is a horse that it's just been like borderline okay, right? It's just that last race, in fact, at Oaklawn was really, really good. But then the race prior, the Razorback, not so good. Has ran pretty decent races. There's enough back there in the back class that you would say if this horse were to win, although shocking, you'd be like, well, yeah, there's there. I mean, the horses ran several 90 buyers in the past, mid 90 buyers, I should say. So to me, this horse is right up there with the Red Route. I mean, yeah, if Red Route 1 runs the Oaklawn Handicap run, probably going to win. But I just don't, and I have no interest in playing hit show. I mean, I'll let that horse beat me.
Well, and he's just kind of who he is. He might win, but you're never going to get real excited about him. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, he could win. He could beat this group. I mean, let's be honest. It's not great. It so much so that if Ain't Life Grand was coming into this race like he was coming into it last year, I would be very confident he would win. But
yeah,
he's just
not though, right?
No.
No. Is that any insight for the fans here on Ain't Life Grand at 10-1?
Dude, like I no. I mean, when I talked to him before, when he was gearing up for his first race, they're like, I mean, he's working better than he ever has, and he ran a admirable first race. He got out of the gate slow, and then he made up a lot of ground, and it was one of those races. It was like first off a layoff, he'll be a lot sharper next time out. And he's went backwards, and nobody they don't know why. I mean, he's training very well. That's all I can really tell you, but it's not equating to the racetrack. And if it all came together and he ran his best race, he will win. But I don't know how you could have a lot of confidence in him, especially the last race. I mean, it looked like he was kind of getting back, and he just didn't kick on. So I don't know the answer. I really don't. But hopefully he runs well, but it's hard to support him, off these races that he's been running.
Finished third last year in this race to Giant Game and Skippy.
That race would be good enough. If he can run that race, he'll win. But can he get back to that? I don't know.
That was off of he was probably his best. Well, maybe his best form really ever at that point.
Yeah.
Because even though he lost, I mean, he ran a nice race.
Mm-hmm.
But then ever since then, he's really not had it, has he?
No, he just hasn't. He got injured in that race. And like I said, when he came back, I said, well, because, when they get injured, you never know how they're going to come back. I said, how's he coming back? He said, oh, he's way better. Like, he's doing fantastic. And again, when he went into the Essex, they were like, look, he's the best he's ever been. Got that race under his belt. We really think he's going to show up. And looking back, he probably wasn't going to beat First Mission that day. First Mission won by 5. But Ain't Life Grand got 6, beating 8. And it's just like, what the hell? And then he ran 6, beating 12 in the race he won last year and this year. I mean, so it's like, damn, it's hard to get real excited about him, unfortunately.
What do you think out of this race? What are we going to is there is there anyone? I mean, I guess Red Route 1 is a horse that you could make a case for being in the classic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hit Show, maybe. I mean, we haven't really seen a lot of him as a 4-year-old just once, and he won, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess those are a couple there, and if it's not one of them that wins this race, then, obviously that would be a horse that trademarks Speed Bias. I don't know. Like, we'll see Speed Bias at Saratoga as well and running in those big ones, I would imagine. So you would think maybe one or two of these would end up in the Classic, right?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but they probably don't belong. But
No.
somebody's got to run in it, so maybe one of them gets in. I guess with Hit Show, if he was to win here, he's all of a sudden 2 for 2 for 2024, and maybe he's improved and he'll get a shot at a bigger race. I think we all kind of know what Red Route 1 is, right? Like, I'm not picking Red Route 1 thinking this is the time for him to have a big progression. I'm picking him because I don't think these horses are very good.
By the way, why is it that Red Route 1, when you compare him and Hit Show, Red Route 1 feels like he should be 8. Like,
I know, right?
Like, they're both 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
Red Route 1 is 4, Hit Show is 4, but it's some reason in my mind I'm like, Red Route 1's got to be like 7, right? Hit Show's maybe 4, but
yeah,
he's ran 20 times to his 10, so maybe that's why. So
yeah, no, I mean that's a true comment. It does feel like Red Route 1's been around forever. I think that's because we've seen other versions of Red Route 1 throughout the years, like looking at Lee,
Yeah, exactly.
There's one, so we've seen a bunch of them.
Because he's just really the same horse reincarnated over and over and over again, basically.
Yeah,
so,
pretty much.
All right, Halterman is who'd you say you're going? You're going Red Route 1.
Yep.
I'll go number 2, Escapeologist. Box those up. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a hell of a Cornhusker. And I mean that like in the worst way. Like, I don't mean it like that's like I can't wait. It's just going to be I want to watch it, see what happens,
See how it unfolds, yeah. I
don't think we're going to, of course, I probably would have said that about Fort Larn too, so I don't know.
Yeah, it does. This race can surprise at times, but it's like I said, it could be Hit Show if he's really improved. But
yeah, see, I know it's crazy. Like, honestly, I wasn't making a joke. I was making a joke, but I honestly just in my mind it just felt like he'd been around forever.
Mm-hmm. Forever. I don't think Husker Butch has beat another horse since he got claimed. I'm not being funny. I really don't. I think he's finished last like 3 straight times. We got beyond lucky to get him claimed.
What a claim.
He ran a monster race for him at Oaklawn, and people thought, oh shit, he can do it at Oaklawn, at tracks like Oaklawn. And I don't know what got up his ass that day, but holy cow. Thank God it did, or we would have a horse out on our hands that can't beat anybody. So he's totally off form. I don't know what happened. Contreras got him at first. I thought, oh, shit. And Contreras got rid of him pretty quick. And I was like, okay, that horse can't run. That's official now. So I don't know what's wrong with him, but don't look for us to claim him back anytime soon. I'll tell you that much.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free and premium picks on our handicapping products page. Click the Get Race Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. We have a promo code running right now. If you are an email subscriber, just make sure you go check your email. You can see what that promo code is. Should I get the Freedom25. Freedom25 will get you 25% off all subscriptions for your first month. Any subscription, 25% off. So now through, I think I have it ending on Sunday. You'll get a 25% off your first month, any subscription, Freedom25. So make sure you check that out over there on the products page. The Haskell is the next Breeders' Cup race. It's also going to be the next betting Bible, correct?
Mm-hmm.
July 20th, I believe that is.
Yep.
That's 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yep.
2 weeks. So, guys, stay tuned for that. We got that coming up. The Racing Dudes are on Twitter at Racing_Dudes. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Bleakers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places, as well as YouTube. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button here on YouTube if you're watching. Go check out. I don't think the Magic Mike Show did one today, right? Or this week. But they did do, or you guys did, Iowa Derby and Prairie Meadows picks over at Dudes Who Bets, right?
Yep, that's right. We did all the races, all the Iowa Festival races. So yeah, I believe we're both over 2 so far. So that's not good, but still a lot of races to go here. So looks like we're about 3 minutes away from the Prairie Gold Lassie, which would be next. So,
Kevin, we are. How should I say this? We are thumbs up, but not, but new ladies. Listen, you can't keep the dog down too long. You know what I'm saying, Kevin? You know, I'm just trying to live my life. Now that you are a taken man, I'm trying to live my life the best that Kevin would approve. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard. It's not easy. You know?
No.
But there's more of them out there now that Kevin's taking.
Right. Yes. That's your advantage. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The day he got married. Like, yes. That's right. New haircut, that's right. New man. You never know, Curtis. You never know. No, just kind of just we'll just see what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
I'm I would say I'm not like playing the field, but I'm like it's more of a honed in approach, but it's not necessarily a one person type thing either. So listen, you got to make sure you get the right one. And it was wrong the last time. So
there you go. Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts, Halterman, before we head out here? I don't know if you guys can hear this, but it's my neighborhood is apparently had fireworks left after last night's rainstorm, so we're firing them off here. It sounds like.
I haven't heard one, so I think that's good. Your microphone's just picking up what's around you there, so that's good. Next with a huge win today.
Yeah, that was nice.
This one came at 1 mile and 3/8. So I was talking to Magic a little bit earlier. I said, "Is Next like good? Like as far as like classic good? Is he a marathon horse?" And it's like because the one thing was like, hey, you won 1 mile and 3/4 races, 1.5 mile races. It's a little different. Today was a quote unquote normal distance race, and he looked exactly like he looked going 1.5 miles, 1.5 mile and 3/4.
Can we please run him in the Classic this year?
I mean, in a year like this, it's pretty ridiculous if you don't run him in the Whitney, let alone the Classic. Like,
I mean, like, let's stop. Just stop being pussies about it and just do it.
Why not do it once? And if it doesn't go right, forget about it.
I know. Like, he won by like 10 links. Yeah. He dominates every time.
Right.
Give him a shot.
To me, the Whitney, we're a month away somehow from the Whitney. There it is. You got a month. Run him in that. What's the worst that can happen? What great 1.75 mile, 1.5 mile race are you going to miss? You're going to miss the Birdstone this year at Saratoga. Who cares? Try the Whitney. And if he sucks, hey, like Cody's Wish sucked in the Whitney, it's not over. You can go back to what you do the rest of the year, and it's fine. I think you have to run him in a big race and find out what he's all about. So I'm excited for him now. But we'll see. Who knows if they'll actually do it?
Look what they did with like Ain't Left Grand. It's like, hey, gave it a shot, didn't work, went back to it. There for a while it was fine, right?
Yeah, until this, end of last year. But like I said, they took him up to the Travers. Like I said, he wasn't great, and he came back and won a bunch of races in a row before finally losing and getting injured last year. So there's absolutely no harm. And that was an Iowa bred going to run in the Travers. This is a horse that's running triple-digit buyers going 1 mile and 3/8, and you're going to cut him back to 1 mile and 1/8. It's not that hard. Like it's not going to be hard on him. If anything, it'll be easier on him. So I don't know.
I just don't get, and again, I've never owned a horse of that caliber, but I just don't get, like, at some point, if I'm owning it, I'm like, you know what? Like, he deserves the chance to run. Like, I'm with you. Like, don't just run in these little races and then go to the Classic, but try the Whitney. Try a big grade 1 and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And then you can make that decision. Or maybe you say, I don't even want the Travers. The Classic, but hey, like, you know what? The Whitney's a perfect spot. Let's try it out and see.
At the end of the day, you don't have much to lose because like you and I consider and talk about him, but until he runs in a race like that, he's always going to have the kind of the, wow, I really like him. He's so fun to watch, all this kind of stuff. But you don't have that, wow, he's a monster. Well, if he runs in the Whitney and he runs fourth, he's the same horse that he was before.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, okay, well, he's just a marathoner. He's still cool. If he runs in the Whitney and wins or runs a really close second, you elevate him tremendously. So I think it's a no-brainer to put him somewhere.
Yeah, he's won like 7 of his last 8, including 5 in a row. Like he ran the Brooklyn twice now, back-to-back years. I mean, he's just a cool horse. He's kind of like got a little fan base too, you know. Like people like this horse. So it'd be cool to see him try the I mean, again, I'm looking back here at the past performances. So they've attempted 1 grade 1 his whole career, and that was the juvenile, okay? The Breeders' Cup juvenile.
Yeah.
And it didn't go well. But he was 2.
I know. It's so long ago.
It was 4 years ago. It's 2020.
Yeah.
So it's like he's a different horse now. I mean, but literally, he's rattled off a grade 2, a grade 3, and back to a grade 2 here, wins in dominating fashion. We still have not gone to that next level. So, I mean, it just feels like he's due.
Well, and look, lastly on this, it's a year to try it, because what are you really afraid of? Yeah, sure, National Treasure's out there. He's going to be really tough. You may not be able to beat him. Yeah, okay. Who else? Name one other horse that you'd be afraid of.
You could run, you could run second. You could run third.
You could beat him at a 1.25 miles because maybe he's better at a mile too as well. Like, right? So it's like National Treasure even is not one to go, well, we're wasting our time. It's not Flightline, right? Like it's a horse that at a 1.25 miles, we don't know. I mean, I think National Treasure will be fine, but he might not be.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, who's closing? Who's behind him? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, hopefully we'll see that. There was talk last year of it happening, and then it fizzled. So we'll see what happens after last year. After the Brooklyn, he ran in the Birdstone and then went to the Greenwood Cup Stakes at Parks, and then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go.
There we go. Maybe they'll strive for more this time. All right, guys, that's it. That's a wrap. Hope everybody had or is having. I know the weekend's still going here, so maybe the 4th of July festivities are still happening as they are, it seems like, in our part here. So everybody stay safe. Have a good holiday weekend. Good betting as well. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.